Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining in. And I really thanks to my panelists. Those are very much experts in their own domain. Uh, we all know that what is tsunami words comes in. Every day, day out, people are watching content, and this been there is a lot of studies being done, uh, especially after the COVID era. The people are watching a lot of content on mobile, and mobile has been growing a lot. And in the UGC world, where everyone who is sitting here probably a content creator or probably an influencer, and to upload the content and monetize that way. So that's an easy job. Everybody do that. But on this era point of view, I want to put some point how this things changes and in the day-to-day world. We have just heard how India's digital boom has been growing. Everybody talking about that and reshaped not only how we consume media, but how we feel it endlessly, instantly and everywhere. Every scroll, every stream, every creator is shaping the next second of someone's attention. But when the content never stops, what really cut through? Is it creativity? Is it consistency or context? For advertiser, the question is not just how to be seen, it's how to be seen right. As we upload the content, I really don't know how the industry is working towards that. Alignment of the content are happening with the right advertisers, right creativity, and all these things. So I just open the forum for all the panel who are here. I have a simple question to them. With the creators and content multiplying every second, how are advertisers keeping their stories authentic and seen in the right context? Whosoever wants to go first, more than happy. Sujata?
Sure. So, see, the thing is, you have to play as things move, right? So, because the creator content is becoming so dominant today, we have to take part in it, right? And how do we keep the brand's communication authentic? By taking part in the co-creation, by taking part in how we create the narration for our clients. So what we do is, as dentsu, we kind of take creator economy as part of the media strategy itself. We co-create, we don't take it as one-off media decision. We do long-term deals with them, and we use a lot of science and analysis to arrive at whom to go with when it comes to creators, and how the narration should be controlled. Now, you can't control the entire narration. So when we script anything for a creator to speak, it can't be similar across all the creators, right? Then it would sound pretty same, and it would sound boring. So what we really do is we script it to some extent and then leave it to the creators to create it so that we are part of their narration, their storytelling, so that it looks really authentic. And the communication also passes on to the audiences, right? Because audiences today do relate to the authenticity of the creators. They find it beyond advertising. They look at it more as the resonance of somebody who's like them, who's using a product, right? So things have moved very differently today, and we have to become part of it, and we have to run with it.
Any thoughts on Vivek you want to say?
Yeah, sure. I think I want to start by saying that the content tsunami is not our challenge, but it is our new canvas, right? And that's what we need to navigate to what Sujata was saying. And there are really three things that come to my mind. One is that there is an authenticity and scale paradox that we need to navigate. And from that lens, as Madison, we are now making or embarking on a massive transformation journey, investing significantly on data, technology, and AI, where we're not using AI to replace human judgment, but to augment it, right? I think that's fundamental to what we're trying to do. The second is from a context standpoint. Again, significant investments from what we can take to our clients. Because if you see the philosophy that we are now embarking upon, and Sam spoke about it earlier, is that our conversations have to be growth first. So how do we look at context from a growth lens? How do we look at technology? I mean, for example, we've already built tools using Gemini's Giga, powering our entire creative generation engine, for example, right? So context is super critical for us. The third is trust and agility. Now, as Madison, we work with some of the largest Indian brands like Asian Paints and Titan, which are legacy brands, trust brands. We also work with a lot of mid-segment, mid-market clients, Indian clients, right? We're much closer to the ground where this UGC revolution is happening. So for us, it's not a matter of choice, but an essential when it comes to building our capabilities in insight generation and using AI to augment that, and to obviously keep that context in the cultural context in mind. Yeah, so not a simple question like you said, Amit, but
Yeah,
that's the short
it's
answer.
evolving every day on that. Devesh, your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add what Sujata and Vivek has just see. So the most important, like, to choose the right creator, right, and the influencer, right. So it's not more than like, the reach, right. It has to be related to your brand and to your narrative. Okay. So now, authenticity and the contextual, right. Both are the very big challenges right now. I believe mostly advertisers are facing, right. And to overcome this, advertiser will give the more power to the influencer to co-create with them, right? Don't just detect your story, let them try, because they know their audience well than you, right? It's their audiences, right? Which you're using, right? Correct. So the thing is, just allow them to narrate your brand the way they wanted to know, in their voice, in their language, in their style, right? That is one thing. Second, as I said, like, is more than volume, and more than reach, is the contextual, right? So if you go beyond the impressions, okay, what we'll do is we'll track not only the reach, but the contextual fit, sentimentals, okay, that will drive your brand with the right audience and right TG, with that kind of influencer.
So beyond reach, you're talking about more relevancy point of view.
Yeah.
Vinish?
I'll just build on what everyone's already said, and apologies if it's going to be a bit repetitive. I think what we're building at WPP is two specific frameworks. The first framework is on how we identify the right content creators to work with. And for that, we have an influencer planning platform called Inca. Now, what Inca primarily does is it rates influencers on the basis, first of course, scale, but authenticity, genuinity score, multiple parameters that tells us that these are influencers who can be trusted, who have a trust value in the market, who have been consistent in the way they have engaged with consumers and then with brands. Then the other framework is around how brands should turn up. And that's primarily in terms of being very clear on what the brand tone or the brand voice is, right? First setting that framework will then help you identify and map back to your influencer planning platform in terms of which influencers to pick and to choose. And then build your stories around it. And going back to what everyone said, with influencers, you have to give them a space to create. Right, this is not a classic 30-second TVC film, right? You have to give them a space to create. So while there are brand guidelines given, allow them to be creative in their own space.
I have some specific questions to the people, the panelists here. Especially for the Sujata first on that. Brands in a creative first world, are brands losing control on their narrative as content goes more fragmented, or can they adapt by becoming a part of the creator story rather than the competing with it? Is any thought on that?
So see, brands have no choice but to become part of the narration of a creator. So while, advertising keeps happening, that's one way of narration. The storytelling as we speak for a brand keeps happening. It's extremely important that we are also part of that narration which is happening today, which is extremely fragmented. So it's the user reviews which happen, right? We can't really control it if we just go by regular advertising. So we need to look at user reviews. The social media is exploding with creators. So to control all that, and then there is AI, of course, where it picks up things from anywhere, and the brand reputation can get impacted if we don't really control it. So it's highly important to participate, to have your own creators in the ecosystem, to enable them with your brand stories, your essence of the brands, the brand ethos, etc. You empower them so that they speak the right things and you can control the script. So that's what we've been doing in a lot of categories like pharma, like finance. To an extent, we work extremely closely with micro and nano influencers when it comes to things like painters, to that grassroots level, and the results and the ROI are amazing. So it is a time when we can't run away, we can't be shy of things that are happening. We have to participate, just like we are all learning tech, we are all getting into AI in a very big way. All our tools are now talking tech. This is something which is building and exploding, and we need to be part of it. In fact, I would like to tell you that, we've created a tool which goes down to the performance levels also, since we handle finance as a category in a very big way, you know that, right? So we have built some tools for these, not only that you select the influencers and you have your basket of influencers, but they can actually get paid if they bring you leads. So to that level is, our tools are actually building and working on.
Thank you. And on the second point, Divyesh, I have the follow-up question with you. Considering the buying comes into the picture a lot, how do you see the balance shifting between media buying muscles and content intelligence in today's ecosystem? Because you have expertise on those areas as well.
Yeah. So, Amit, traditionally, it's very easy to get a scale, right, using your actual buying power, right, by the majority prime inventories at the cheaper rate, right? But in this world, while it's very fragmented and it's like creators-driven world, right, where you need to see how is the contextual relevant, right? As I said earlier, right, it's not about the reach, it's not about the volume, right? It's the contextual relevant, right? And it's all about the data-driven stories, right? So you need to look into the platform performance, audience insights, right? Sometimes cultural segments also, right? And then you'll co-create or create the content which is more relevant to the audiences, right? Because right now audience is not looking for the only polished ads, right? They wanted to know which is more relevant to them, right? The real stories, right? And not just for the no need to drive your global narrative, which might not fit, right? Because and again, it's because of the India like a market, right? It again won't work in the single language, right? It's multiple languages, like for the other states, so micro influencers, as Sujata says, right? So different sector, different states, you'll drive the micro influencers with them and co-create the content.
Probably language and vernac has also come into the picture a lot,
Correct,
right? We all encounter multiple times. We've been living in this state and see the certain different content on the sites or the whatever we are browsing on that. How will you deal on those situations certain times? If any point on thought on that, anyone?
Actually, if you look at it, regional content sees significantly higher engagement than English content. In fact, to specifically quote a study, about 30% higher engagement. And therefore, in our framework, the philosophy at the very core is growth, like I mentioned earlier. But what is growth for India? In the India context, in the Bharat context, right? So our entire approach to building a stack of data stack, tech stack, insight stack, influencer stack is India first. We're collaborating with AI first companies who are focusing on designing products for India. It is not just about taking what is a globally successful platform and adapting it to India, but actually building for India. So I think that's important for us. The cultural insights, there's a lot of work happening. I'm currently can't disclose a lot of the strategic partnerships that we've entered into, but I think they're very, very interesting local language analysis and insighting that's coming out. A very, very robust way to look at what is the content that's working at an on-ground level in a small town, in a rural area? How do you start decoding that? How do you start filtering that? And then bring in the brand's context to be able to leverage that, right? So regional is the growth story. I mean, we cannot just think mainstream. UGC, social, regional, nano influencers. Now from an influencer stack, if you look at it, there are 3 layers to it, right? One is your top tier influencers, there's the medium tier, but the bottom tier is where the maximum clutter is, right? So with there, we are looking at multiple different models. From a commerce first lens, there are very different trading models from a buying lens that we are looking at. From a collaboration lens, there are very different models we are looking at. We're working actively with D2C brands and Indian brands who are selling directly in rural and small town India, because they don't have the appetite like a lot of the large tier 1 brands do, right? Everything is commerce. So a very different lens in very different segments. Yeah.
Anything you want to add or?
Sure. Just building on what Vivek said. In today's parlance, people talk of 3 Indias, right? There's India 1, India 2, and India 3. I think it's where your brands are or where their primary business is coming from. So you will then choose the right mix of influencers, whether they are tier 1 influencers or mega influencers or micro and nano. And I think it's the role of the influencer in your mix. So if you want to build reach, you will typically go with large scale influencers because they have scale. The role of smaller or micro influencers are their ability to drive engagement because they're considered to be more authentic, and also the way the social algorithms work is that they tend to turn up more on your feed. So you will see them more often, and hence the engagement typically goes up higher.
So I think more we discuss more in the content, we go deeper as we go. But I think without any discussion on any panel, AI is always chip in, right? And everybody is talking about AI in every panel. So as this topic is started, so I did some research and data point of view on the AI front. I have a certain codes and discussion point of view on the AI. The AI tsunami, when machine create the message, we are entering in a phase where AI does not just optimize campaign, it creates them. In a year, 60% of online content will be AI generated. That means the competition for attention would not just be human, it will be synthetic. What does this mean for originally brand tone, trust, and brand safety? So on those lens, I have a specific question to Vivek and Vinish. Vinish will go first on that. As AI system automate content creation and placement, how do you maintain control over where your brand shows up, ensuring safety and suitability are not compromised for efficiency? In the lens of CPG, where Unilever comes into the pictures, and social major spends happening on those areas where day-to-day spending, 80% are media content are, people are watching, and spends are close to 50-55% on those. What is your way of look at things on that?
What I'm going to say is not very specific to CPG. It could, I think, work across the board. First and foremost, I think it's most critical to identify what does brand safety mean for a brand, right? And it's not simplistic कि मैंने 3 keyword डाल दिए and that's exclusion covers that. The context of your brand, the context of the narrative that the content will get placed in needs to be fixed. And you can use a lot of AI tools to kind of help navigate this tsunami of content, as you call it, right? You can train agents today to kind of pick which are the contexts that are critical to your brand, right? Agents will then help identify the right scenarios, the right content types, and in turn the right influencers. So I think that framework, again, the use of AI and use of AI in this lens to learn what brand safety means for your brand would be the first step.
Is it brand safety is so concern or brand suitability is the concern for you?
It is both, right? But I think the first and foremost thing for most brands will be brand safety. Okay. Because turning up in, and to your point today, right, there are you could have content which is created by humans, which is unsafe. You could have a lot of misrepresented content created by AI as well. So and the very fact that there is so much of it out there, the first step should be brand safety. That's the first filter we would put. Yeah. If it's not brand safe, then it doesn't matter the suitability or not. It would typically get
attention is also important in terms of, because as the new era comes in, people talking about attention as well. Considering on a UGC content, the attention score is low compared to the other areas. How you make sure the attention point of view, is there any brand safety point of view, attention is also important on that? Or anyone can.
Get people in the room like this, you'll have all the attention you want. Lock them in. But yeah, I think, let me just answer it from a larger holistic standpoint. See, AI without guardrails, like handing over a Formula 1 car to someone without a steering control, right? Lots of power, zero control. And then we're already seeing the downsides of that on what's happening. So there are 3-4 things that I want to touch upon really. One, the misalignment risk is very, very real. And we've already heard in the morning, Dr. Batra and Sam, everyone touch upon what the way social media misinformation is happening today. In fact, a McKinsey study points out that social media is the least trusted source of discovering brands. As much as we would like to believe otherwise, but 73% of the users do not trust a social media ad. They would like to see a more transparent advertising approach from brands. Almost up to 10 to 12% of safety violations happen when context is missing. Right? Those are critical areas that we need to address. And like I was speaking about earlier, the 20 plus languages that we need to advertise in India, it only makes it more complex. So from our lens, it's not, and as I was saying earlier as well, right? AI is a co-pilot for us. The entire framework that we're working on now is AI-human collaboration. So there is the first layer, which is an AI-first, AI-powered strategic planning framework, which takes into account some of the best marketing frameworks that have succeeded in the world, including going back to Brand Sharp, including looking back at how Portis and BCG work together and designing custom frameworks that allow us to cater to brands in India. The second layer is human, right? Which is where obviously there's a lot of data and tech available, including what you guys do at Channel Factory. But there is a human expertise needed for cultural context and to augment that brand safety and the context like Vinish was talking about. I don't think AI is taking that away anytime soon, especially in a landscape as complex and diverse as India. And the third layer is more real-time monitoring and adjustment, right? That you were talking about it this morning, Amit, when we were chatting, saying, there are certain events happening. How do we ensure that, my brand doesn't show up in the unfortunate events that are happening? So that's where real-time monitoring comes in. So that contextual control through technology it's what's helping us. And I think we are experimenting that with your platform as well for a couple of our clients, and we're seeing the benefits of that. So to your question, context and suitability both go hand in hand. It's not a choice between either. And then there is a trust imperative, right? So how do we use AI to enhance precision? How do we bring in more transparency to consumers? How do we bring in more transparency on behalf of brands to consumers? All of that is very critical. So again, in closing, AI is the co-pilot that we need to work with. And the brands that will win are the ones who will actually see AI from that lens to do better, not just faster.
The only thing I'll add to this is that today when you talk about AI, you also, in parallel, you say human in the loop. Right, it goes back to Vivek's point. It's always in combination, right? And hence the checks and balances often will be with human in the loop.
So first human or first AI?
It'll always start with human because somebody has to train the agent, right? Somebody has to write the code for the agent,
Definitely.
train it, give it a lot of data. Then you test to see is the agent learning appropriately? Is it not hallucinating? And then the agent will tend to work. And it'll continue to learn. And then there is a human in the loop to ensure that it's still on track.
I have one specific question to Vivek as well, in terms of the lens of India as a market, and on that point, so as a clients like larger you have, could AI accelerate misalignment, or could brand lose contextual control? Is it unchecked?
Yes, I mean, I think the entire conversation is hovering around that, throughout what we've been saying. And the real question is not whether the content is AI generated or human generated. The real question is whether is it valuable to my audience? Is it going to deliver growth for my brand, right? Obviously, a lot of technical expertise, creative expertise comes in there on how we use technology to generate those assets. But let's not forget the fundamentals of marketing and brand building, right? The moment you start outsourcing your thinking to AI, that's where the problem is, right? And that's what Vinish was talking about, right? The thinking has to be human first. See, everybody needs to understand that large language models or small language models, whatever, and we're seeing that in the space of human psychology where, a lot of misconception is happening. AI is not thinking. It is not being empathetic. It is deductive. It is only deducing the information, deducing from the information that it has. So garbage in, garbage out. So building AI native capabilities is fundamental to what we need to do, but we need to keep the human at the center of it. We need to keep the human at the periphery of it as well, right? I think that's important. From a full funnel lens, again, we need to start engineering content in a way that it starts driving growth for brands. It starts decoding growth. What AI helps us do, Amit, is, see, if you think about the human mind, right? How many concepts or frameworks can it hold at one time to solve a business problem? One or two at the most. There is no way we can look at billions of variables and data points and hold 10 different frameworks to evaluate what's the right strategic solution for a brand. That's where AI comes in. But the judgment is human.
So moving forward on that AI point of view, what is next for brand in the Tsunami world? I have the question for everybody on that. What is the one principle brand should never compromise as they navigate content abundance?
So I think, brands should always be culturally relevant because India, for that matter, is so culturally rich. Everything that we do somewhere should have an intersection of culture. And look at the spread that we have, right? I mean, only, North would be 50% of the audience. We have South, which is isolatable, individual regions, East is separate, West is separate. How can we make the brands culturally relevant so much so that, whether it is AI, whether it is people intelligence that we do at dentsu, how do we understand the human truths? How do we understand their actual need? At one point, we started advertising like crazy. We started taking celebrity endorsements like, the superstar is doing a Lysol, superstar is doing a Rin, superstar is doing a Surf. But people can't relate that. They know that, that superstar can't be using a Lysol, right? But at the same time, when it comes to a creator who's from their region, right? He or she is trying to do something with it and has some anecdote, some points there, it really immediately resonates, right? So it's extremely important to be culturally relevant. At the same time, how are we able to statistically back it? The other day, I met somebody who was doing audience segmentation through AI by just taking Copilot. And I was wondering that where has statistics gone by, right? So it's extremely important that everything that we do is data-driven, culturally relevant. These two things definitely, would be the bedrock of success.
Divyesh, your point of view?
Yeah. So, Amit, I believe advertiser never compromise on authenticity, right? Because that's the base of what you'll drive, what content you select, what creator you select. Okay, and this always relevant to audience nuances. Okay, and as Sujata said, culturally relative, right? They'll help you to get the right audience, okay, and the right TG for your market. Again, it's not about the reach, right? It might be possible, in small state, you will get a small reach, but you will get the culturally fit. That's the more important because nowadays, audiences are not more passive, right? They have curated their own feeds, right? So in that competition, how you'll put it yourself in between with authenticate, that's the more important. So I believe the authenticity, they will never compromise, and that's the anchor which brand will keep credible and connected.
Vinish, your point of view on the authenticity?
I think we have spoken about this between the four of us ample number of times. Super critical, right? Authenticity and cultural relevance are in a sense hand in hand. If you're culturally relevant, you will be authentic.
I think the one word that comes to my mind and goes back to what I've been saying about growth is the word is intentionality. And I think that's really key for us, right? I mean, we've talked about it today and many times. Reach is no longer a conversation. We have 650 million users across OTT, short form video, social video. Yeah. The reach is plenty and available. What is scarce is meaningful connection. And we need to help our clients be very intentional about where they show up and how often they show up. So there are three layers of intentionality that we look at. Number one is contextual intentionality. That's really, really critical. Is this the environment that's right for my brand, the suitability lens that aligns with our brand values? The second is cultural intentionality. And I've spoken about it earlier. It's not one market, it's 20 plus linguistic markets that are available, that are in India. So regional relevance is greater than generic reach, right? We've actively started talking to our clients using the data backbone and the technology available to us saying, let's stop doing one size fits all. There is no HSM, right? The third is consumer intentionality. And you were talking about attention earlier. So we need to respect the time that a consumer is going to take out and give to us, even if it is 4 seconds or 5 seconds. And the second is to do that via value exchange, right? Not by value extraction. And we're seeing a lot of that. There is a dichotomy, right? There's institutionalized brand building and there is disruptive brand building. The disruptive brand building chases valuation, and therefore only cares about transaction. And that's what is taking away the quality of response that advertising can generate, right? And that's disrupting. So we need to address that. So therefore, the AI-powered strategic planning framework that we've built is addressing all of that. Secondly, the tools that we're building are working at every step of the funnel to address that. It's a long journey. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. So again, we need to help brands and ourselves move with purpose, not just momentum. So intentionality is what comes to my mind. Yeah.
Cool. I think, as we go along, this is the world where we all need to live in, as every day the content being uploaded in any UGC platform or open web as well. But it's all depend how the brand will, engage with them, considering attention, considering suitability, safety, regional content. Everything is important. Apart from efficiencies definitely drive on the basis of when it goes. So this is a super critical era of, I would say, digital for us versus the earlier days of TV, where we know what are the productions are happening and where the ads to be placed, versus in the new era where social are growing and it will grow day by day, and we need to tackle on a day-to-day basis in each and every day with lead of AI, lead of human, lead of any other future technology will come in and picture out all of that. Cool. So that's where we end our session on this. Anyone has any questions related to this, feel free to ask. Fellow panelists will definitely address on that.